Hey guys, it's Steven Mossbrucker for the school hardware development group as well as YouTube. And so it looks like I spoke a little bit too soon on the Micronics Micron situation. I'm kind of new to this whole, I guess you'd call it reaction slash analysis videos. This is more of a reaction analysis per se because this is all kind of breaking news for the most part. So it's changing quite quickly. So it looks like 8 hours after I released that video, or it was a day later or something. Looks like there has been some changes. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. So basically, this is Micron's video, and basically, they talk about
Acquired by Formlabs.
they got acquired.
In this video, we're going to break down
um,
why this is the best step forward, what's going to happen in the
basically
Kickstarter,
join
and what the future looks like.
Formlabs.
So
Right?
let me take you back
Formlabs,
to
I mean,
Open
they
Sauce
make
last month,
amazing,
where we met Max, the
amazing
CEO
products.
of Formlabs. We had
But
some
they're
amazing
kind of,
conversations about the future of digital fabrication, and we
they're
quickly
kind of
realized that
struggling
we share a
to
common
stay
goal:
afloat
making powerful
in
3D printing
kind of the
technologies
prosumer
more
market
accessible to
because of
everyone.
their. Let me
What's
go ahead and
even
pause
cooler
this. They're kind of failing to stay afloat in their prosumer market because their printers are quite expensive, and compared to MSLA, mass stereolithography, they're quite slow unless they start to increase the laser count. Also, their materials can be quite locked down, so that you apparently the big thing that's in the comments here is that you need a material library license to run external materials, and in that license is probably some sort of extension on your warranty or terms or something, so that you can be able to do that. So they can still cover their ass if you put in a material that messes with the vat, leaks everywhere, or whatever, or somehow destroys the printer.
is that both Formlabs and us share pretty similar origin stories. Now, why are we doing this? Well, we're all engineers at heart, and we're all about efficiency. Think about it. Two teams working separately on the same problem means twice the resources, twice the time, and ultimately slower progress, which means better and quicker help for everyone using our tech. I'm rolling out new tech better than
So I mean, here it talks quite a bit more and shows quite a bit more of the Micronics print, the Micron
and
prints,
faster than ever.
and I mean they look pretty good.
All right, let's address the elephant in the room, our Kickstarter. As you know,
And so basically here they say, okay, well we're gonna cancel our Kickstarter, like I think it was 20 hours early before it closed, and I talked about in the last video how it basically stagnated after 1.3 million and just oscillated up down one person. You know, they lost one person, they gained one person, lost one person, and gained one person. Um, and so now they are going to cancel it, and because they've now been acquired by Formlabs, they are giving a $1,000 credit for Formlabs for each printer that you order. So if you order 3 printers, you get $3,000, according to my understanding. So and also you get a free material license, which is, cool. The printer should be able to do that, but sure, cool. Because depending on the printer, the material license could be anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 from Formlabs, right? So the irony is, and what you'll find in the comments, I won't go over the comments here, but you'll find in the comments that the irony is they at first were talking a lot about Formlabs, and that was one of the reasons why they created Micronics, was to create a this Micron printer that was at $4,000 and try to go against the what is this, Fuse One, I think it's called, from Formlabs, which is $18,000 SLS printer, right? And make it smaller and more easy to use. Well, they tried make it easy to use, and get it to into more people's hands than what Formlabs has. So that's what they were pushing for. And then basically they talk about they met at Open Sauce, which unfortunately I missed this year. Apparently, a lot of stuff going on this year. I'll try to go next year to Open Sauce in California. And they talked to Formlabs. Formlabs CEO actually was looking. He says in their video he was actually looking for them. The video that we're going to look at next. He was actually looking for them and found them to talk to him and say, hey, we should join forces. And they said, oh, I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Blah blah blah. All these things. And then they probably saw Open Sauce was a while back. I would say at least a month ago or more, right? So they said, oh, let's see how the Kickstarter goes. And then they did this one. Actually, they'll talk about it in Scotty's video when they went to Open Sauce. Maybe it wasn't a month ago. Maybe it was only a couple weeks back. So at the time, the Kickstarter, that was doing, they probably predicted like, hey, it's doing better, but we had the Scotty issue, and then we'll see where that goes. So later on, when they found that, hey, they got $1.4 million, but I still think that Micronics looked at this and evaluated, and it's like, hey, we have, I think, 4 people at least. I've seen 3 different people in videos, maybe one other person. So let's say 3 people. Okay, we have $1.3 million. We got to pay these people eventually because they have to live, right? And then we have a facility to run, and then we have to figure out all these problems in a year and then be able to mass produce these things, because I think they sold like I think it's like 350 of them, and then have to make sure they don't get damaged in shipping. So, and then also they were talking about doing injection molding, which they hadn't even started yet. Who's going to pay for all the molds for injection molding, and trying to do that and figure all that stuff out. I mean, I don't know how much left would have, I don't know how much would have been left. Like you saw for Bamboo Labs, very massive team, it seemed like. I don't know how they did that or if they partnered with somebody for their X1 Carbon, but they had, that was $7 million. That's 4.5 times what this is, right? So let's keep on going, and then I'll talk about my opinion on
Micron
it.
is very much a first-generation machine built by 2 kids straight out of college. It works, but scaling it up to produce thousands annually while ensuring each one runs reliably is a huge challenge. That's why we decided we're going to take all the lessons we've learned from building Micron, combine them with the extensive customer feedback Formlabs has from their existing customers, and start fresh. We want to build a product that not only is functional, but is also reliable for years to come. To fully focus on making this happen, we decided to
Generally, somebody mentions something like that, that also kind of hints that it wasn't before.
cancel the Kickstarter campaign. This means that you won't be charged a penny. But as a massive thank you for your support,
Which I agree. I mean, so basically they're leveraging the experience of Formlabs, and they say in the other video they've been around for 12 years or something. And so they do have a lot of experience. Now, of course, that's an SLA. They didn't get into SLS they haven't been in SLS for that long. But right here, you can see they get $1,000 off for the printers, and then also this open material license right here. See this? Form 3B plus, right? And then $2,000, and then the form. This is not even for the Form 4B yet, and then nothing for the SLS. SLS is closed material. Now, of course, SLS, the material is generally pretty narrow because you have to heat it, so it's this is less useful. But I mean, even so, they have the license for their previous products. They don't even have it for their Form 4, which is their newest product, right?
allowing you to experiment with a variety of materials, not just the ones we provide, to the best in 3D printing technology.
So this is their
incredible value
SLS
and have
from
access to
Formlabs.
the best in 3D printing technology. Check out the link in the description for details on how to claim your credit Formlabs shares, which will vest over the next. In fact, a big
This is a
wrong
good
idea,
key.
guys. This isn't about us cashing in and heading off to the Bahamas to retire. In fact, a big part of this deal involves us receiving Formlabs shares, which will vest over the next few years. So we're in this for the long haul. We'll be wrapping things up here in Madison and making the move to Boston, where we'll be joining the Formlabs
That's
team.
Henry. I believe
I'll be
his name
diving
is.
deep into the software side of things, streamlining and adding exciting new features to make the process of turning your CAD model into a physical object as seamless as possible. Meanwhile, Henry is going to lead the development of the next generation of Formlabs printers and push the boundaries of digital fabrication. We're still going to be doing the same things we love, but now backed by Formlabs' enormous pool of talent and resources. This sets us up to achieve some truly groundbreaking advancements. And there we
Okay, so that is from Micronics itself. So now I'm not exactly sure what happens to the name. It sounds like they are basically getting absorbed into Formlabs, and they are now going to go and work at this Boston facility that they're at here. So they they're going to Boston's facility of Formlabs and then work there, and then the Micronics just ceases to exist, right? So let's go ahead and jump to Scotty's video. Oh,
everything has changed. Henry said they'll be canceling the Kickstarter and refunding everybody their money. I recently received this Micronics SLS 3D printer to review, and while I was really excited about it, in the previous video I had not yet managed to get it working, despite putting a decent amount of effort into it. But I was still really excited to get it up and running. I really wanted to be able to put it through its paces and give you a proper review, as well as have it as a tool in my shop for use in future projects. And so the next step was really to get Micronics to send me some replacement parts. So let's jump back to that before I got the haircut. All right, got new parts for the Micronics. Henry?
all right, so let's go ahead and skip through this.
During internal testing, that
Okay.
is, you're not engaging. That's the first thing we want to fix.
So basically here,
Get this unboxed, and
Yeah.
so today there are 3 things that I actually want to fix with the
Okay.
printer. The 2 of them is the ones you already know. So with the powder flipper, you're not engaging. That's the first thing we want to fix.
Yep.
The second thing we want to fix is the auger getting jammed, obviously.
Yep.
And then there's also a third issue that we discovered during internal testing. That is, under some circumstances, the printer can short the neutral to ground.
Okay.
And this is
so this is an interesting part, is that he talks about this PCB electrical, possibly electrical issue, because depending on how good your breakers are, I mean, maybe neutral shorting to ground or whatever may cause a fire, right? So, and he talks later that it's basically what they think is the powders getting stuck somewhere and causing shorting.
design oversight on my part. I take 100% responsibility, but it's about a 10-minute fix.
Okay. Okay, so this is the powder, and then this has the auger and the board. That looks like that's probably the auger assembly. What would you like to do first here?
Let's start with the auger replacement.
Okay.
It's better outside with the Ninja Frost Vault Cooler. Fridge temp drawers keep food cold.
Have that. So I'll take the build chamber out, and we'll take the back off again.
Yep. Like now that I have experience and actually know like how things are, like how everything is put together, how all the circuit board components work, everything in the world just feels a lot more sketchy. Because like if I really think about it, if like a piece of 1 micron gold wire within the printer breaks, within the bonding wire of the IC, the whole thing doesn't work.
Yeah, but this is kind of what we were talking about, last time we talked, which is like, it's the difference between doing like the R&D and like hard engineering work to get something that works, to getting something that's ready for, do all the polish and whatnot, to get something
So
that's
here
ready
he's
to
basically
ship, that's
saying
ready
he's
for
in kind
customers
of
to use, all
learning
that.
mode.
Yep,
per se.
that's why we are promising a Kickstarter delivery time of 8 to 12 months.
I think a lot of people
So here,
underestimate
obviously,
how much
they're
work it is
still-
to get from a pretty good looking prototype to something they can
Saying they're
mass
still
produce
doing the
and ship.
Kickstarter, right?
It's a lot of details. So I should
Holding
put this
the top
down
glass
the
on.
front now.
Maybe there should be a clip to hold that on.
Let's unplug
Instead of
the
using
wire for the
low,
auger motor.
masking
Yeah,
3M
that's
masking
done.
tape.
And then, just remove the entire auger assembly. It's just 2 screws.
Let's see. I'm gonna empty this auger back into the sift bin. Auger's here.
The auger motor looks like it's straight or if it's worn out.
This gear here.
Looks straight from the back side, right?
I mean,
of resistance to turn.
there's quite a bit of powder, so yes. Well,
So, I mean, I may have missed the part, but basically he says like, hey, this machine requires a lot more maintenance and is a lot more harder to work on than a FDM printer, which is true because you have all of these. You gotta have powder containment and all these moving parts that are hidden in this case because you want to just pull the sifting bin in and out and all these things, right? So it seems, which is interesting because Henry here is the CEO, right? And also he is the what sounds to be the electrical engineer, designing the PCBs and figuring out the galvo and doing all that stuff.
You barely start to feel it, like get it tight but not stripped.
okay.
Yeah, don't strip it, but it's thing back on. Actually, before that, let's grease up the gear. So just apply generously on this printer. It's like not nearly as easy as like FDM. I do admit the maintenance. Let's put on the back of the build chamber so we are done with the build chamber. I do admit the maintenance and repair on this printer is like not nearly as easy as like FDM machines or resin machines just because the nature of the powder.
Sure.
But like, we try and minimize the number of screws and all that.
I'm gonna do a little bit of powder cleanup here.
So I mean, obviously, so we did find it there.
This is not my favorite part. It's really hard to get that thing back on. Okay.
One more thing, I want to try to make sure that the gear meshing issue doesn't happen again.
Okay.
And that is to slightly file down the 4 black knobs on the side of the printer, of the chamber that slides into the printer. The 4 hex bolts at the top of the build chamber.
Okay.
Two on each side.
So basically he's asking to hand file these down here.
I think we'll call that 0.5 millimeter.
The little 2 indicating. So you want to take like just a
So basically there's
top.
maybe some tolerance issues there. You have sheet metal interfacing with a high requirement of tolerance part. So basically it looks like
off the top of that one as well.
Off the top. Okay.
Just
these two. So these two, I think this is where the motor the motor interacts with the wiper here, and then those 2 screws sit on here to try to get an exact position, right? And then you can see the optical limit switch back here. So you have a piece of sheet metal that is heated and is possibly distorting, and then it has to locate on these 2 pins here. So and also sheet metal is generally your worst tolerance item.
You want to take like a potential issue with the printer.
Okay. Oops. That is something that I wouldn't mind seeing fixed. This slams in a little overly aggressive way. Let's do the circuit board fix now.
This does involve opening up the top of the printer, so as you understand, there are mirrors, so it would be very helpful if
here.
Screws, yes.
Yep.
Tilt it up and then move it toward the side.
So just over
the
back? This part, to be honest.
Yeah, that'll work
from,
too. Just get out of the
what
way.
you saw.
After you remove the 4 screws holding down the main board and you can get access to that standoff, you want to take a pair of needle nose pliers to get rid of that standoff.
I got it. Okay. I assume it's the galvo setup you don't want to show off.
Just the overall layout of the top of the printer, because.
Okay, so this is also key. The description, the pinned comment, which we'll get into his section later, is he asks if, hey, you're going to Form Labs. This part is never probably going to see the light of day, because he held this video. Scotty held this video, so for a while, and so he said, hey, can we do a teardown? This thing's probably never going to see the light of day again. I have basically a one-off. Me and those 4 other people have basically a one-off. Can I do a teardown? And they said, oh no, proprietary this, that. Don't do a teardown. Don't ever show anybody this. Even though technically he doesn't have an NDA, he's gonna, because he's, Scotty's a swell guy, And he says later that he started many companies, and he takes IP concerns very seriously. IP is intellectual property.
Once they see how little component there is, they would be a lot more, inclined to just copy everything, I guess. Because you can see there are only 2 circuit boards in there.
Yeah.
A lot of people are expecting it to be a lot more complicated than it is.
Yeah.
And we just want to, we are a small company, we don't really have a lot of ways to protect ourselves besides just keeping things simple and,
Yeah.
letting other people figure things out. So,
Well,
So
as soon as
basically
you start
that's-
selling units, that ship will have sailed.
For at least the next few months.
Yeah, I understand.
So, I mean, basically, here he's saying that the main core of the technology here, Micronics strength, and they talk about this in the next video, which we may or may not watch, is they talk about their core strengths of developing high value problems is what they enjoy, instead of, he mentions cutting out foam to ship the unit. He would rather develop Galvo, things like this. So it seems that from this, the Galvo is actually, but they also talk about it in this interview with Formlabs CEO, Henry, the Micronics CEO and Formlabs CEO. They have an interview in this next video, and they talk about how they had similar upbringings, both right out of college, creating a SLA printer in Formlabs case, SLS printer in Micronics case. And Henry is saying, hey, I would rather do these high value problems rather than fixing all these bugs, right?
This board is not moving even with those screws.
Yeah, you just need to push a little bit hard on it. There's a little piece of thermal pad underneath.
Okay. Oh, I got it.
And then just slide it back and then reinstall the 3 remaining screws. The board is rigid enough that it shouldn't cause any issues, and with the thermal pad underneath it, that should be plenty enough to keep it from shorting.
Standoff is removed.
And then just make sure all the wires are still plugged in, nothing came loose. And then just put the power supply back on.
Yeah. Let me get the board put down first. Okay, I think I have this all back together. Should I put the top back on?
I'm going over this video because I think it's part of it, and I'll talk about it in a second of how it's involved.
So now that with all the 3 things fixed, the printer should be up to 100%, I think. Let's start the print.
Okay, it's in there. SD card. Power cable. Turns on. All right, so I'm starting the job that I sliced, not the job that you sliced.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's see how this print did. Another recode fail. Hooray!
So basically, fix number 2, recoders getting jammed.
That's funky. So I'll take a picture of it for Henry and see what he wants to do. But this definitely underscores my belief that this is not ready for prime time here. So I talked to Henry. I checked some gears and stuff. None of them panned out. He wants me to run another test print. So I gotta get this one out of here, sift it, re-add powder. I'm gonna switch.
And again, this is a marathon, kind of like I said in my product development procedure. Marathons do, and I'll set up a guideline. Haven't wrote one yet. Guideline for how long a marathon is, and with how many different printers, or in this case printers, but how many different products, to say, hey, I have a big enough sample size and can say that this system is stable, right? Because basically he talks about, hey, this thing is actually getting stuck.
To a full-blown respirator here. So I'm bringing the build plate up.
I mean, this is pretty streamlined, right? See, he didn't have it there. And then moving this thing back and forth. It'd be nice just to have two of them.
Alright, I'm gonna go wash my hands. Anyone who tells you this isn't messy is lying. I can't imagine doing this indoors. Clean hands and clean room wipes. Okay.
Yeah, so those are like semiconductor clean room wipes. Use them every day in the clean room.
I'm gonna go quickly slice the
Pre-saturated wipes with 991
Take an
IPA DI or 100% DI
check a
or
couple screws, remove the
70-30.
print, sift it out.
70%
guess I
DI,
didn't start the
70%
camera,
IPA,
that's what I
30% DI.
But anyway, I've got it running again with a really
IPA,
simple print this
70%
time that's only going to take an hour.
DI.
So, I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's give this a shot. It looks like it completed successfully. Ooh, it's toasty.
Good enough for now, I think. Boy, I don't need to add much. I'm not going to add any more right now. It's just like an inch or two below the top.
Let's go sandblast this thing.
And again, I actually haven't watched this point.
That's what I printed. So that's what it looks like. Just a TM8 bolt T-head here. I don't know what this is for. Henry said this goes into the back of the printer here. I guess it holds the build chamber back on? That holds it in there, for sure. Here we go. Well, that's gonna run for another 6.5 hours, so it is, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night. So we'll check on that tomorrow. Ah, crap, it failed again. Let me go talk to Henry. I have a few more things to do and check based
So
on...
it did get one
messaging
success.
with
I
Henry
didn't
here.
see that
He
part.
wants to try and bend around the recoder arm that goes back and forth. We gotta remove the powder cake.
I mean, all of this is very frustrating for failed prints.
Okay, so Henry wants you to move the recoder to the center and then firmly bend it forward towards the window. Make it flex like 10 degrees and then check if it still moves smoothly. Yeah, it seems to move fine. Just a little stickiness here at the end. Oh, he said he wants it to be perfectly vertical, right? Very smoothly. The whole length. The only place where
So it looks like
seems to have
this part I
any
did
sort of
see, which
binding
seems to be like
is
a little
right
tolerance here at the end.
here. So if I crank that down, then it gets a little stuck.
So maybe the limits.
I'm gonna go send these pictures to Henry and we'll see how this goes.
This part is
To kick off
interesting.
another print, he would like me to record it so that hopefully we can catch the moment at which it is failing here. We'll be back when this print either succeeds or fails.
So right there, skipping steps.
And
Skipping steps twice.
it failed again. Damn it. Okay, it has been a couple of weeks. I went to OpenSauce and then Teardown. I saw Henry and Luke at OpenSauce, saw one of their machines and how it worked. As part of that and some conversation with Henry in the few days prior to OpenSauce, we decided that the powder flipper back here is probably getting stuck a little bit. There's some rub marks. So Henry's suggestion is that we file that down. So I'm gonna try and clean up as much of the powder in here as
Excess powder out of here. I don't want to strip this screw.
And remember, this is kind of, I mean, he's basically doing the development for them, pretty much, at this point, right? He is filing things down and bringing things into tolerance. And also, what do we got here? Some sort of lining cracking here, or a surface finish cracking.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting close to. Alright, well, it's not coming. Alright, I'm just gonna pull this down. I don't know how I'm gonna keep metal shavings out of here. So Henry's suggestion was blue tape.
Bring it apart with intolerance.
I think it's getting caught on that bushing there. Yeah, it is. Let's see it. It's getting caught right there.
Well, I guess I'm gonna go send these photos to Henry and see what he says to do, because I don't want to just go willy-nilly in here. Ideally, I'd take that flipper off
So, yeah,
with those
basically
3
tolerance
screws,
issue.
but I don't want to strip that middle screw out. So I don't know if there's a trick that I'm missing. It doesn't look like it. It just looks like it's super tightened down or very stuck. So we'll see what he says.
All right, so this is the meat and potatoes here. So basically with that, let's go summarize. So he had 3 issues from the beginning for the last video, or the video before. He had basically issues with the auger, which seems to be fixed. He had issues with the recoder. Did many things, seems to not have been fixed. And it looks like they found a new thing in testing after sending to these beta testers to test, or in this case it would have been like an open alpha instead of an closed alpha for the beginning. And so any of these 3 things failing causes a printer that is non-usable, right? And you see that it's still in development of, okay, I shipped 5 units. I've never even seen the Hacksmith one yet. Maybe I'll look for it. I shipped 5 units. One of them didn't work, and I cannot fix it, right? And I'm not super sure why. And so 1 out of 5 of my customers is not happy.
Okay, I just talked to Henry to ask.
And again, what this is this is showing exactly what development is. Development is taking parts like that, reworking it with a file, bringing it into tolerance, file a little bit, run it. Does it work? No. File a little bit, run it. Does it work? No. File a little bit, run it. Does it work? Okay, it works once. Try it again. Second run, try marathon. Second run, doesn't work. Okay, file a little bit more. Next time works, runs 4 times, and fails. Okay, file a little bit more. And then etc. Then you have thousands of runs. Okay, this marathon is good. Transparency looks good. Okay, let's do modifications of the drawing and bring this in and basically tie this into what's it called? Tie this into cut it in to a fix, right? Okay, let's continue.
Ask him what's the update on replacement bushings, and everything has changed. They are getting acquired. It's not public yet, but it will be by the time this video goes out. They're getting acquired by Formlabs, who makes primarily professional SLA printers, though they do have a couple SLS printers, and they've got a great reputation. I've never used one of their printers, but I've heard nothing but really good things about them. Henry said they'll be canceling the Kickstarter and refunding everybody their money, and Formlabs will be providing everybody who backed the Kickstarter a $1,000 credit towards a Formlabs printer, which start at about $2,500, as well as a free open materials license, which allows you to use third-party material on their printers. I actually didn't know this, but without the open materials license, you can only use Formlabs materials on their printers. And this license...
Now, for me, I thought that I thought they didn't even have an open license. I thought they had only closed source. But so that's kind of cool that at least you have open material, unlike Stratasys where everything's closed. I think now they've modified that. They're no longer doing that, but back in the day Stratasys was like that. because like I have their MakerBot, right? I have their MakerBot method, right? And that one you can run open, right? But at least the model material, not the sport, but the model material. So this one for form, I thought it was just they didn't have a open license. I thought you could only run the material, but it looks like they have an open license now.
License typically goes for between $2,000 and $4,000 depending on the specific printer.
And remember
it doesn't
from that thing,
look
it
like
was
that license
3 to 4.
is yet available for the Form 4,
3 and
which
4.
is their
So
latest
2 and 1 they
entry-level
didn't even
SLA
have.
printer. So I guess this is great news if you are a backer and what you actually wanted was a Formlabs SLA printer. With the discount, you can get a Form 3 Plus for around $1,500 or get the newer Form 4 for around $3,500, the same price you backed the Kickstarter for. But if what you really wanted was a desktop SLS printer at a reasonable price, then I don't really know where this leaves you. Henry and Luke, on the other hand, will be moving to Boston. Henry will be apparently leading their SLS team, working on applying what they've learned to the next version of the Formlabs SLS printer. They've been rather tight-lipped about whether that will be based on the Micronics printer or their existing $19,000 and up SLS printers, but we'll see. Look, I'm super happy for Henry and Luke. I think this sounds like a good outcome for them. I asked Henry if he was happy with the terms of the acquisition, and he said he thought it was fair. And as someone who has started multiple companies and been part of a bunch of other startups, I will always congratulate entrepreneurs on having a successful exit. Building a company is really hard, and it requires an ungodly amount of effort. And getting to the point that somebody else wants to acquire it is a huge, huge success. I hope that Henry and Luke are happy and feel proud of this outcome. I think they certainly deserve to. And I hope that this will allow them to continue to focus on the things they clearly love and are really good at, like engineering and research and development. But I'm a bit sad. What does this mean for the future of affordable hobbyist desktop SLS printing? Formlabs is known for building fantastic printers and materials, and they've got this great reputation as a company, but they're really targeted at the business, industrial, and medical world, not hobbyists like you and me. And the prices of both their printers and their materials match that. So does this acquisition mean they're embracing the hobbyist market and are going to offer a desktop SLS printer that's affordable for mere mortals? Or will they continue to focus on making their higher-end SLS printers better using Henry and Luke's expertise in design work? I think we'll just have to wait and see. Now, where do I go from here? I have this printer that's a bit of an orphan. It's a pre-production unit with no support, no possibility of getting new.
Same thing. What he's talking about now is, similar to this, Fisker, right? So Fisker bankrupt. So okay, how do you get parts and all these things now? Same thing as he's talking about now. You basically have pre-production run printer that it will no longer be supported.
Parts, etc. I'm definitely bummed. I have projects I was excited to try with this printer. Obviously, they don't owe me anything. It's normal for reviewers to get to keep the products they review, but there are no guarantees they'll be good or even work. And Henry did say he would send me some replacement bushings once he was done with the acquisition announcement. But I also get that his life is probably super crazy right now, and I understand if that doesn't happen. But if that's the case, then I think it's probably something I can resolve on my own. It's just, I didn't want to start making modifications to their machine on my own while still in the context of reviewing it for a currently running Kickstarter. And I really want to do a teardown and show how cool it is on the inside, as long as Formlabs is cool with it. I haven't signed a formal NDA or anything, but I do take intellectual property concerns really seriously. And I don't know, I don't want to overstep any boundaries. So stay tuned on that. I'll let you know what happens. I would love to know, though, what do you think about this acquisition?
Okay, so yeah, and like I said in the note, in the first comment, the pinned comment is that he heard back and it's a no-go on a teardown. So again, in the comments, very frustrated about not having the access to SLS and Formlabs buying out the competition. I will talk about that later, because I also have some points on that.
I have to. Why aren't we making stuff?
Why aren't we making stuff? Because we have to pause for a little bit and tell everyone about our plans to make stuff.
So
Henry, when did we meet?
Yeah, we met, day 2 of open source when, you came by our booth where we were showing off our 3D printers,
The
and
open
we
source?
sort of just started talking, right? We talked about what our shared vision is, what we want to see in the 3D printing industry, and we very quickly realized that we all just want to make 3D printing more accessible, more economical, and more useful to everybody, to enable people to bring their ideas to life. And that's sort of when we got the idea of, maybe we should work together.
I think when we met and we had first conversation, it might have seemed like I was just wandering by your booth, but actually I was looking for you guys. Me and many people at Formlabs have been following what you've been showing over the last few months of your progress with Micronics. I think in our first conversation, it was pretty clear to me that these guys are the real deal, very talented at engineering and building.
Now, let me not, what they did here is incredible, right? As a team of college grads that just came out, and then instead of joining a company, I don't know if they interned or whatever, they created their own company right from the get-go, right? And right from there, they jumped into taking on Goliath of Formlabs, who they're now part of, and made, and almost made $1.3 million on Kickstarter, right? Now, maybe if they would have kept going through that, maybe they would have not shipped anything, but or shipped something that didn't work. But pretty amazing what they were able to accomplish, and obviously Formlabs saw that.
Building great products, and I would love to find a way to work with them. Getting an SLS machine like printing at all with a small team and small resources, that is very impressive. I mean, basically nobody has gone from sort of zero to a working polymer powder bed system with as little time and money as you guys have.
Now, I'll show you later, that's not true.
You compacted the machine substantially, build volume to printer volume ratio, which is something we think about a lot.
This is true.
And which, like, Fuse 1 is better than other polymer powder bed systems, but you guys took that ratio even further.
Yeah, I came from Hong Kong, so everything needs to be small and tidy, so there's a little bit of influence on that.
But when I first...
So here's interesting, right? They have all these machines and they show them running, but they don't... again, they never saw these issues that Scotty was having.
First brought up the idea of joining forces and you coming to Formlabs, you said, maybe, but we need to think about it, and probably wasn't the first thing on your mind at that time. What got you from that point to thinking, yeah, this makes sense and we should work together?
I've been following Formlabs since the beginning. I've always looked up to you and your team on how you were able to bring SLA to be so accessible, and so to get a recognition from Formlabs it means a lot to both Luke and I. I think a lot of it just comes down to personally being very impatient. Scaling hardware is painful and it's slow. All the VCs out there, they want software as a service because you can infinitely scale it instantly. But with hardware, you actually need to put in the work.
So this is true. I mean, to scale hardware, obviously, a lot of these VC venture capitalists that want to venture capital firms that want to basically give you money for some sort of equity, right? Whether that's percentage of sales or whatever, right? Or equity in your company. Software as a service is a big deal. Like you said, so you can scale it very quickly, while the hardware development is very slow and you can very easily make mistakes. That's what, again, this whole school group is about, is talking about hardware development and providing resources to make sure that these pitfalls are avoided.
Scale up manufacturing, then scale up the support, then the manufacturing, then the support, and it's this whole iterative process of having to bootstrap yourself basically to be able to get to a point where we think we want to get to. And that process took Formlabs 10, 12, 13 years. We are just thinking, is there any way we can make that happen quicker?
I think Formlabs has been relatively fast in our growth, at least when I look at other companies in our industry, but I see it the same way, that like the vision for what we have at Formlabs today, we had that within the first few years of the company. We had already started working on SLS. Like we could imagine this point and had a rough idea of what the company would look like, but it took years and years to build it up because we had to iteratively learn and fundraise and grow the company. And like looking back, it could have gone much faster. Now we're taking a big step to join forces and work together going forward. What's going to happen with Micron and
for their equipment, and so, but still, right? It's not. There wasn't really overlap with Micron per se, or Micron and Micronics.
Kickstarter.
So the plan is that we are going to cancel our Kickstarter campaign, not take any money. Luke and I will be moving to Boston, where we will be working at Formlabs, leading the development of the next generation of 3D printers. And we really appreciate all the support and trust from everyone who has backed our campaign. As a thank you, we want to give everybody a $1,000 credit towards any Formlabs printer or future printers. And a lot of the innovation that we also saw comes from the material side. So we are also providing a free open material license to the Formlabs printer so that you can play with any material you want. I think one of my favorite videos about our printer is from Ben Krasno from Flight Science, where he mixed in a special catalyst with the nylon powder, printed it, and then activated the catalyst with a high-power pulse laser to make printed electronic circuit board traces directly on the plastic parts. And with an open material license on Formlabs printer, we are hoping to spark this kind of innovation, experimenting with novel and innovative printing technologies and messing with different materials.
As someone who went through a really similar journey as yourself and had a successful Kickstarter, that was an awesome moment. It would have been really hard to cancel it. Why is that the right move?
It's definitely a tough decision for us, but I think if we look at the big picture and what's going to happen in 5 years, I would think it is the right call. Because Micron, even though it works, it is very much a first generation product from a young, very, very young startup. At Formlabs, there's already a huge team of talented people who are experts in their own fields. If we want to design a part that's going to be injection molded, there are people with a decade of experience who can do it better than we can, ever do. That would really allow us to focus on the high-level system architecture stuff, take what we have learned, our experience with Micron, combining that with user feedback that Formlabs has gathered over the last decade to give customers the best experience and a technology that can truly be relied on. What Luke and I really like doing and is somewhat good at doing is solving really high-level complex problems. But what we're actually doing is spending like 60% of our time replying to support emails from the 20,000 subscribers we have on YouTube, cutting up stupid foam packaging. That took us 8 hours to cut up all the foams for the machines we shipped out to content creators.
I think it's really similar to how it went with Formlabs and the Form 1. With the Form 1, we laid out a concept for a product, a new class of product that got people really excited. We sold a bunch of them, but we didn't deliver fully on that concept. A bunch of people got the printer, a bunch of people used it, but it wasn't as great as it could have been. And it took us to Form 2, the second generation, to really incorporate everything that we had imagined should be in a product. So the way I think about it is we're helping Micronics skip the first version and go straight to the second version even faster than if you would have had to do it sequentially.
FDM, SLA have both been pretty much, completely democratized at this point. But, where is SLS? The Fuse is great, but it's still, $18,000 starting price.
From one
so what we want to do is like, hey, can we just build something for everyone? And it turns out there's a reason why SLS is taking so long, because it's the most finicky 3D printing technology.
I agree. I've worked on FDM, SLA, and SLS printers, and SLS barely works. The machine either wants to just make a mess or melt all the powder inside of it. It's always like on the edge of breaking. We found it very challenging to bring to market. I think we made a really big leap with Fuse 1, but it's clear you can go further in making it more accessible. And that's why we're really excited to work with you, take that further and faster. So now that we're wrapping up all the work to get a deal done, what's next?
Well, I just gotta move my fish tank and my CNC mill, and then we can head over here to Boston and just plug into the matrix of the Formlabs repository of everything we've learned so far, and just start working on the next 3D printer.
The CNC mill in your dorm room. You can leave that. You don't need to bring that. We've got a good one in the shop.
So, I mean, you see down here, they have a whole ecosystem. They got, a way to be an archaeologist and get all your parts out, the powder cake. They got sandblaster, clean the finish up. They have all that type of stuff. Okay. So, what are my thoughts and kind of wrap up these other 3 videos that we talked about for Micronics? So, one is I think that this was probably their best move. I mean, you saw their Kickstarter, and I showed you that in the last video, and you saw the impact of Scotty's video that I talked about the very first video. Again, anything over, and at that time my video was still unlisted at that point. I didn't make it public till like 4 days ago. So there was a huge impact of Scotty's video on the customer faith in the product, right? The first impression, right? First impression starting up to that was very good. The company was very transparent, and people were digging that. I even saw some comments say grassroots, right? So very, very big grassroots initiative to get that going and talk about all their iterations and all these things. And so that's where that initial jump of $1.3 million came from with the Kickstarter. But they had that one issue with Scotty, and now that was out, and Scotty was going to release another video where he tried to fix it, and it didn't fix, which I think was impacting from that video is that, Henry said, Henry, and I can't remember the other guy's name now. Not Scotty, but the third guy, the other guy from Micronics. It's like, hey, we have 5 of them. 1 didn't work, and I cannot get it to work. And it seems that there is gonna be too many things in a year, which I don't think they would have been able to get it done in a year. Be able to go basically do a closed alpha, open alpha, closed beta, basically beta, and that's the Kickstarter. To be able to figure out all that stuff, how to ship it without breaking, all the testing, all the marathons, all the transparency, locking in vendors. How do I manufacture this? Who's going to manufacture this? What's the manufacturing agreement? How is all this going to work? How much money am I going to make? Am I going to be able to ship all of them? Am I going to be able to keep the doors open? Right? And obviously the $1.4 million, Kickstarter takes a portion of that. Right? And then also, if they had anybody to promote the project, they have to pay those guys something. And maybe they have some investors, so they have to pay the investors. So by the time that was done, it would have been very, very difficult to accomplish. So in my opinion, which might be a spicy opinion, is I think this was the best move for them, because I think they would have had to probably cancel the Kickstarter regardless, and then try to recuperate their mistake, or this one loose thread of this one printer that showed up on YouTube didn't work, and out of 5 fix that, and then get all the first impressions back, and then go back to market when they already specified that in Scotty's first video that they were out of money. right? And they had to get funding, otherwise they would have to close their doors. So they now are able to have a job, right? And now they have equity in a decently large 3D printing company, right? They have equity there in stock, right? I'm not sure if Form is public or private company. Anyways, um, publicly traded company. So, and now they have a lot of value here with what they've learned internally inside Form, and then Form can help them polish everything out on the outside, be able to ship things, be able to figure out the support to the documentation, be able to figure out how to shoot videos. Obviously, you see their videos are amazing, right? Formlabs videos are amazing, and Micronics are close, but Formlabs is like the quality is out of this world, right? The whole packaging and polish, Micronics looks like it copied close, but still on, the finish. And you saw even when they were loading and unloading the Fuse One, like the bins, the building chamber was like all polished and everything in their videos, and they, everything is moving very smoothly and all these things, right? So just they have experience, right? And they've been through this before, and they've had many successful products. So, of course, people in the comments are talking about, hey, because they have this material license, this is probably never going to, and when I say probably, I'm talking about what they're saying. I'm not saying that that's what I'm saying. But they said this probably will never see the light of day, right? If they have a material license. Because the whole idea with Micronics was that it was supposed to be kind of open, which obviously with this technology it wasn't per se, and SLS is not generally that open anyways. So I mean, you may have some difference in price of the manufacture of the particular powder, but generally it's pretty closed. So yeah, happy for Micronics. I think this was a good resolution for them. It fixed most of their problems. Hey, I need more time. Product is not ready. I've already have a crack in my basically in my company's reputation. I've already gone public with a Kickstarter, and a lot of people have backed it. And I don't think that with this money I can create a product. And Forms has already shown interest with what we've done, and we already kind of have a following per se. And we can maybe convert some of that into Form, so we can carry that value in, and we can ask for money for that value. And now we joined. We've taken care of all of these problems, right? And also maybe encouraged a more mature company as Form to create a cheaper, printer, cheaper SLS printer. Maybe, we don't know, right? So maybe that will be a video later in the future. But overall, I think a win for Micronics, maybe a quote unquote loss for the rest of everybody else that wanted a cheap SLS printer. Obviously, it's only good if it works. Next one is I started looking around and I had something pop up in my recommends, which is this guy who makes this Innova printer, SLS printer, and you can see it pumps out the SLS, right? And this guy, check out his terms of use. It says you copy, modify, and convey covered sources and products, source code, documentation, 3D models, PCB boards, sets of parts, etc. for non-commercial purposes only. You are not allowed to produce and sell Innova printers nor its parts, right? And of course, we are not blah blah blah. But basically, for non-commercial use only. So you can mess with this stuff and learn as much as you want. Check out this video, right? SLS for all, which is pretty cool. And I think he's a Czech Republic, similar as Prusa, and has either a kit or a do-it-yourself, which is basically you get the BOM and then you go from there. But I think it's up there. I mean, it's 60, 7,000 US dollars, right? So this one Micron was like 4,000. So this is another 50% higher, but I believe this build plate volume is quite a bit bigger. But this has the standard side by side two build chambers. One is your like your one is your fill chamber, so it goes up and you fill the build chamber on the left from like right to left or left to right. So you basically need the chamber volume on both sides. But I think it's a decent size, right? So, anyways, um, and you can see here, this is the powder reservoir that is on there, while the other one is basically it's stored underneath. So Micron is just taller than it is, and you pump up the powder from the bottom, right? And move it up to the top, and then fill it in the top. And you can see it's almost like a standard old 3DP, which is a 3D printing platform, which is use powder, and then it uses an inkjet print head to print out binder to hold whatever your substrate is. Could be ceramics, could be sand, could be even my cousin did 3D food printing and had sugar. So the powder was sugar, and then it used like water as the binder to make edible candies or whatever. So yeah, another one talked about. I accidentally got rid of the video, but this is from 3D Doctor 3D Flow, something like that. Anyways, he 3 years ago he did this kit with this eccentric kit, and he built this video. So he built this in a video, so you could also check that out. 6,000 euros. So I mean similar. What was this in euros? It's a little cheaper. So this one's a little cheaper, and you can kind of see inside. Obviously, the other one is more open source, so you can download the Fusion file and be able to modify it. But yeah, pretty cool. I don't remember the video. You're gonna have to watch it, but I think he had pretty decent outcomes with it. So I mean, there's not Micron's not just the only hand in the game. Now, of course, they've done a lot of innovation there to make things smaller. And this guy is at least more than 3 years old. This guy, I think, just released like 2 weeks ago or something. Actually, this video was today, or was today, same day, same time that Micronics announced that they are getting acquired. He released this video, so pretty good, right? Anyways, so yeah, great for Micronics, I believe, in my opinion, according to kind of the options that they had on the table. If you put out, kind of like a matrix of, hey, this is all the things that's going on, and here's all the effects, and here's all the mitigations. This, I think, is one of the main mitigations that fit correctly, and to be able to have a way out and still have maybe something that you've done see the light of day, and be able to keep working on what you enjoy to work on, right? But there are some other projects here, as you see. Maybe we'll look at those and do some evaluations as well with those. But other than that, I think that's mainly it for Micron for a while. So go ahead and check out my school group. Links will be in the description, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.